Welcome to the DPost for All Season Sports Show. I'm Drew Rubenstein here again with Dave Racy. And Dave, we haven't talked WVU basketball in a while, so I thought we'd get back on that subject, men's and women's basketball teams, and start off with Bob Huggins' program. Went back and looked. They're 27-36 since late January 2012. And went back and looked at a lot of the teams that they've beaten during that 2-year period, and not many of them are elite programs. So I guess start off with what's wrong here with Bob Huggins' program?
Well, I think you have to go to the recruiting, and it's not necessarily that they've recruited bad basketball players, but there's been a lot of them who have not stayed in school for whatever reason. And so when you come off a Final Four and your entire recruiting class doesn't even last a semester or that much, that's not good. That was supposed to be that should have been followed up with some very good recruiting years. So, they brought in some good players, and but not enough yet. They might need more good players. And the Big 12 conference has turned out to be a very, very hard basketball conference. Not that the Big East was easy, but anytime you go on the road, things like last Saturday's can happen. It just gets out of control, and you're going to have games like that. So they still have a winning record right now, even though understandably it's not against the best teams. But I think if they could pull out a winning record and get to the NIT, that would be a step up from last year, and then you go on from there.
Do you still, I guess, going along those lines, do you look at this year as a continuation of last year, that the wrongs that happened years ago are still being corrected now, and so you give them a little bit of a pass this season?
I don't think they're being corrected, since 2 of our recruits are sitting out this year that were supposed to help us and probably would have. So I don't know if those wrongs have been corrected. I still don't think they've learned their lesson on that, and who knows, from one year to the next, who's going to be here and who's not going to be here. Someone else could be unhappy in that team that we don't know about, and they may be packing their bags at the end of the season. I know it happens a lot at colleges everywhere, but we seem to have had our really a lot of it under this, and I think it's hurt the program here now more. Even Beeline had a few guys leave, but it didn't seem to bother the program as much as it has with the amount of players leaving Coach Huggins.
Along those lines, is it okay for the program to need to take 2, 3, maybe going into a 4th year to really get back to a point? Because you're getting at the point now where Truck Bryan and Kevin Jones' senior year, they snuck into the NCAA tournament. I don't think most basketball fans in Morgantown would say that was an exceptionally great season. Last season was what it was. This year, 10-8, you could go either way. Is it okay that it's going to maybe even take another year?
At the time, we didn't look at that year as a great year, but given that now, that didn't we do well in the Big East? I think we were a regular season champion or something.
Well, that was before. That year, they were still more in the middle of the pack.
I thought they'd won. I was wrong with that. But I think we'd take that year anyhow right now. But, well, it is what it is. Coach Huggins is sort of going to be here. I don't think anybody's going to fire him. Not even without the contract as it is. I don't think that's going to be talked about just because of who he is, and people like him here and stuff like that. And he's obviously got a good reputation, a good record. So I don't think you go around coaching or firing someone with 700 victories without I think he's sort of is going to get his time, and maybe I guess Bobby Bowden still wanted to coach, but I think he's going to get a lot more time. And that's not to say he can't do it, but it's not going to happen next year. Not with these other schools, unless he has a recruiting class that we just are not aware of. But I think a couple of years we could probably get back in the NCAA, and that may be our roof, or it might be our limit, with things, unless we get hot like we did, the one year and got to the Final Four.
So the rest of this season, though, what does the program need? What does the team need to accomplish to prove to fans, supporters, that the program is headed in the right direction? That it's not just the wheels aren't just spinning and no motion. What needs to happen?
They need to keep playing hard and not giving up like they have done for most of the season. I don't think Saturday's situation is just you have those games. Everybody has them. So they just keep playing hard, and they'll pull out a few wins, maybe get the NIT. I think that'd be a good finish for him this season.
And you're right. He's going to get more time. You look at his resume and his body of work, and he's built that repertoire, that relationship with people in Morgantown, and so it's going to be interesting just to see how things kind of play out. But on the opposite side, it seems like Mike Carey's women's basketball team, I don't know, it took him a while to actually get into the top 25, but when you really look at the personnel and the way this team seems to be playing together, it might be one of his best teams at WVU, if not the best.
Yeah, and they're deep, which is, I think, helps them. Again, in women's basketball, they've got a few elites, and then there's everybody else sort of fends for themselves. UConn, Stanford, Notre Dame, Dukes, and those teams are still a little bit ahead of everybody. And so I think it might be a little bit easier to make success for that, but that doesn't take anything with the job he's done. Those girls play hard. I mean, every team that plays the women's team comes in and say how hard they play, how hard it is to score off them and things like that. And if anything, I think Coach Carey is establishing a good, solid foundation for when we do search for a new coach, when Coach Huggins decides to retire or whatever, we may not have to look far.
That's an interesting note to end on, and Dave, appreciate your time once again.
Thank you.
Please continue to check TheDPost.com for the latest on the Mountaineers. Thanks for watching again.